Let's talk about this more with Jane Ferguson, joining us live now from Kabul. Jane, I believe you've just been to the scene. What did you find out? What did you get to see there?
Well, it's the first time, Jane, that journalists are really able to get right up to the restaurant itself. Last night, many of the journalists were kept down the street, slightly away from the site as they were recovering bodies. Now, this morning, it's clear that there was carnage both inside and outside the restaurant. The door has been completely blown off, and outside of the restaurant in the street, there's still blood on the ground, bullet holes in any cars parked nearby. Some of the buildings surrounding the restaurant have been damaged by the blast. But here in the city, the mood is very much so one of absolute shock. This is a city that is used to extremely heavy attacks. In the past, of course, there have been many, but the nature of this attack has shocked many, with the gunmen entering into the restaurant and killing at will civilians eating meals inside there. There's been an outpouring of grief and consolation for any family members or people whose workmates have been killed, coming from the UN, from various embassies, as well as people also expressing grief for the owner of the restaurant, who was a well-known Lebanese businessman in town. He was very much so a loved figure because his restaurant was so well known. Very few expatriates who lived here had not been to that restaurant. So right now, both at the scene you can see the carnage, but also just across the city you can really feel that there's an awful lot of shock and sadness after this attack.
I'm sure, Jane, lots of sadness going around, but are people asking how this could happen? It's supposed to be a very secure area.
Absolutely, it's supposed to be the most secure area of the whole city, you know, within the very centre of the city, in the diplomatic area. And as I've said before, you know, there are very few restaurants that diplomats and high-end officials, both Afghan and foreigners, who are allowed to actually go out and eat in these restaurants. There's very few that they have the kind of clearance to go to. This was considered to be one of the most secure restaurants, if not the most secure spot that anybody could really go to socialise and have a meal. So that's left a lot of people asking many questions. The area itself, it's actually very close to where we are right now in the Jazeera bureau. It's surrounded by police checkpoints. There's a heavy police presence here all the time, not just when there's an attack. So this raises a lot of questions about how it happened and how to prevent it from happening again.
Jane Ferguson, thank you for that update from Kabul.